belong, and to whom we go. In your arms we dwell. And we move this day as we seek to move in our journey in faith, in trust. Even as in the end, Thomas said, "My Lord and my God." Support, encourage, and bless us as we trust in you, as we put our trust in one another, as we seek to do the work of the church. As we begin this time, we give deep and hearty thanks for those who died in 2024. And remember them, bless for them, and we continue to benefit from their witness and service. We keep a moment of silence. May we sense your presence now as we fulfill the obligations of the congregation to hold an annual meeting. In the name of Jesus, the Lord, the King and Head of the Church. Amen. We live in a democracy, I guess, in our society at least. We don't care to have the secretary that I ask to come up and be beside me, nominate the other person, and then we'll have a vote. We're used to that. We voted last Monday. 2 weeks before that. Anyway, your bills, go to the secretary. You concur with that idea?
We do.
Okay. Agreed? Agreed. It's quite a group. The minutes of the last, I think that means 2023. Right? The typo, there on the next page, page 3 and following. Does anybody come across anything in there that wasn't correct? All of us having good memories in the year ago today. Any questions about what we did a year ago today? A year ago today, meaning on the Sunday. Perhaps somebody would like to move that these minutes be sustained as printed. I would move that. Okay, we move that the minutes be sustained as printed. Seconder?
I'll do it.
I'm sorry. Christine? Any questions about them or observations? Okay, if in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Carried. Thank you very much. We move now to the annual report. Before you on the agenda is a list of the various items that were presented. Including material inside the front cover that has to do with Presbyterian sharing, which will come to later, and the material on the back cover, which also has to do with the work of our national family, which we are trying. This becomes material that helps us as we seek to understand the ministry and work of our church. I think the practice is that we take the items down to including number G-H, no, F. 4H. And we go there, that's part of it. We probably should go there. We'll go to F. So are there any questions that anyone would like to pose about the material that is found for A to and including F?
I have the financial ones here that were over the table.
Okay, we're not gonna deal with the financial ones right now, we're dealing with reports that are, in
This way.
in the printed part. Okay.
What is?
The whole part, doesn't have everything.
Motion, usually it's a motion to accept the printed reports 4A through
Why do we,
4F.
or why do we say brackets, pages, whatever, to 14? Page 4,
Page
page 5. Bottom of page 5.
Starting with the report roll.
Oh, yes. Well, actually, oh, that was part of it. Any questions about the material in the middle of page 4? 14.
So you're looking at the first session report, the pastoral care team report, the parish nurse report, Mary Marketfield report, congregational life report, all of those standing reports of activities in the congregation. So. I'll do
Can I move that we accept the reports within page 4 to 14?
Yeah,
Session technically reports to the Presbyterian congregation, but reports to the congregation by providing set forth here, which we're grateful to have. Okay, it's moved by Debbie that these reports be received. I'd like to second that.
Second.
Okay.
Kathy Lee, second.
Any questions or observations?
I'd like to just note, that I know in the worship committee report, they have thanked Martin and Nancy for also maintaining the live stream, which is a lot of work. But I'd like to also recognize Martin, not only the live streaming, obviously the initiative of some of the recent tribe, which I haven't heard feedback from, which I almost take as a positive since I heard no negative. But I'd also like to thank Martin. He's helped me on management many times this year with the election. We had heat pumps going because I couldn't be here all the time. He's always been available to support me in those activities, and he does a lot behind the scenes that people don't see. Just like to thank you, Martin. Appreciate your
And also speak to the.
Go ahead.
Sarah, report, just as thank the congregation for your support of each other. Pastoral care happens each and every day. I see it here on Sundays that you can show to each other, but I know what's going on behind the scenes. I know there's been phone calls and cards and things, and when someone is absent, people call and check to see why we're absent. So on behalf of pastoral care, keep up with, thank you all for that support. It is much appreciated, I'm sure, for each of us. And I'm not going to name anybody in particular, because you all know all the wonderful things you do. So thank you.
Making that observation, and thanks to all for the work that they're doing, as mentioned in the report, for our staff member, our parish nurse, Christine. So for that. Speaking about pastoral care, can we go outside your boundaries, or you said you're not mentioning any names? Correctional limited to me. I think we've got some new grandparents in the congregation today. Why you gave up the treasury?
Yeah.
Thank you. Other observations about the activity in the past year? Okay. So, Well, we have got a second.
Yes, we did, happy to be seconded.
If you're in favor of the motion to receive all these reports, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay, carried. Congrats. This is an important time for me to offer a word of the congregation to Thompson for the Jews in 2024. It applies to 2025, which is, we just can't say that today. Of course we can. Just like formal. Thank you very much for the leadership.
Thank you very much, President. If I may, I realize there was really no official standing at this meeting, from my understanding of the process, but I would like to recognize everybody in the congregation here for being so supportive and welcoming of a newcomer, especially one from a parallel tradition, who's just kind of walked into the church and trusting you to be in your pulpit and to interact and take leadership and run Bible study. I can speak on behalf of myself and Alexa, who was not able to make it today. We're both so incredibly grateful for this community and everybody in it. And I hope to be able to do even more on a more regular basis with you in the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel, who's come after? Thank you. That will take us then, we should have a quick look at page 15. To accept the report of the financial review that was conducted by David McKinnon, one of our elders, and David Mackay, one of the trustees of Halifax and Newbury. We could have a motion to receive the report on page 15.
So moved.
Moved by Harry, seconded by Susan. If you're agreed, please say agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you. Next then, we better have a look at what the auditor. So, who's on first? You look at 2024. Then we will adopt the budget for 2025. We adopt one of the reports, financial reports.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank Linda.
She introduced me.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but I go way back since we were like little, so.
We had one primary.
Yeah.
That's a lot of weight.
I don't know that. She used to be the church secretary and was involved with Vacation Bible School, certain time, very much within the life of the congregation of our church. And she has graciously come forward to take over the treasurer's role. So I thank her very much for that. NOLA and QuickBooks has brought us into the 21st century, which is awesome. Streamlined everything. And so you might find some different ways that you will be reimbursed for things that you purchase with the church, but she can always work with you with checks as well. That's still an option. But if you do have any questions on anything, or if you need anything, you can always get a hold of NOLA, and we have a new email address. for you as well. So maybe we'll put some information in an upcoming vote, so maybe have just that information. I'd also like to thank Susan Osborne and Joan, I don't think Joan Reddy's not here today, for their continued support through the year as well. They're always a second, third, fourth, fifth set of eyes on financials is always a good thing, especially when you're working with it all the time. And Linda McKinnon and Vivian Mackay for checking and balancing everything that we do throughout the year. That's a big job as well, so for the two of them to take that on, we appreciate it. So this will be very quick because I know Reverend McDonald likes to swing through these things rather quickly. So I will stop at certain sections for questions. Carrie might have some observations from the projects that we did this year's presentation in, and Nola might have a few notes from things that we did throughout the year. So we'll start with our financials at the very bottom of the page. The top is just a summary of everything, but we go section by section just to look at the details. So at the bottom of page 1 is our givings. It says Sunday offering, but that also includes our electric funds transfer that go from bank account to bank account behind the scenes. And we're looking at the 2024 column, so our givings are down from what we budgeted, and they are actually down from our actuals from last year. And everything else is going to stay the course, so that section we're down. I don't think there's any questions on that section. It is what it is, the money that comes in. So at the top of the next page, page 2, schedule 2, is our fundraising, and we had a very quiet year last year. We had our session auction, and we also have a line in there that as it changes shape, we're calling it other, but this is where we're putting our memorials and any special givings that come in so that we can recognize them. So these are folks that have given something in memory of someone, and they'd like it to go to a specific church expense. Okay, so like maybe buying tea for the building.
Or a major state operating use.
Operating use. Sometimes it's just for operating, sometimes it's for a specific expense. This is not in connection with memorial given in memory of or memorial. Okay, that'll be clarified later. So if there's any questions on that section, we're good? Okay. Moving on to schedule 3, other receipts. This is our other revenue that comes into the church with other things that we have going on throughout the year. Our hall recovery, that is quite large based on what we thought we were going to budget because the daycare had to extend their stay here in the church, so we had some additional revenue from their rent. We receive for maintenance, that is the snow removal and church maintenance. It comes in that dollar amount and then it goes back out again as expense, but it's given as an in-kind contribution to the church. Our HST rebate, our investment income from the Presbyterian Church of Canada for our investment funds, the antenna out in the parking lot that we get from Eastland every year, and then other donations to landscaping and lawn mowing. So that section speaks for itself. If there's any no questions, I'll move on. So schedule 4 is receipts for others, and these accounts, I won't go line by line, but they are flow through. So whatever we bring into the church, we turn around and give that out to the specific areas that are listed in schedule 4. Schedule 5 is, do you want to go down a little bit more? It's split between, yes, it's split between 2 pages, page 2 and page 3. And this is our ministry, so there's very little in there because we do not have a full-time minister right now, but the one-line pension fund premium congregation assessment is a Presbyterian Church of Canada, that 5257 amount is determined by the Presbyterian Church of Canada through our statistical report, and it's something that every church has to pay whether they have a minister or not. It's into the pension fund. Down below, we have our pulpit supply for Tamsin. So if there's no questions on that section, we will move on to worship committee. This is where the expenses for our organist and bulletins and any other expenses that we have for that area through the year. If there's any questions? Congregational life. This is the parish nurse And that negative isn't actually negative, it's a positive because of the foot care clinic. So it's a net between what she brings as revenue, we cover expenses for her, including her nursing license for the year, so that she can carry on the foot care clinic. And we come out as a positive that is reflected as a negative on our finances. Christian education, the only expense we had in there this year was Tamsin with the Bible studies, so we appreciate that. I think that's where we put it so it can stand out. And then at the bottom of page 3, and I believe it was page 4, does it? No, it doesn't, okay. Just the bottom of page 3, the Schedule 9, our administration, running up the church, that is also Victoria's expenses in there for our administrative person in the office. Bank charges, insurance for the church, others. Is there any questions on that area? There's nothing in there that I want to flag, so it's just our regular expenses. No change from year to year basically. On the top of page 4 is our building operations and maintenance. This is Kathy Faber, our church officer, custodial person is in there, fuel and utilities for the church, our maintenance, and our fire tax. Now, there's also another table later on in the package at the end there that is a breakdown of the maintenance and why that number is so high. And there it is there. Those are all of our maintenance expenses for the year 2024. And it also includes we put our heat pumps in there in the installation, and then our rebate came off. And we also did get an HST rebate as well, which is reflected in our HST income back in the schedule, where the schedule was. So the net worked out to be what was presented at the congregational meeting, what the cost is.
So that our heat pump install, as you can see, is $44,000. We received an 8% rebate of $31,000 from the Efficiency Nova Scotia. And of that $13,000 difference, we received 50% of our HST was returned to us. The $44,000 includes HST. So our net cost for the heat pump install and everything was about just under $10,000. And it's all reflected here,
Yeah.
other than HST, which is elsewhere.
It's an amazing program.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah. So is there any questions on the building operations?
I know some people, you look here at the fuel, people say, well, we got heat pumps now, what about the oil is down? We only had the heat pumps for 2 months last year. So, but I did have to do a report for nationally, for Statistics Canada on the building and the operation, and I asked for some detail. And the cost of fuel didn't really change year from year, but the cost of fuel was higher last year than the year before. What I was interested in was the volume, and we were about 10% less fuel last year. So those 2 months, I think, contributed to some of that. Weather also makes a difference. So we really won't have a net effect to the end of this year to know between our fuel and electrical costs, have they gone up or not? My guess is they're going to be about the same, and which is good because the costs are going up, and if we can stay about the same, that's a good news. And more importantly, the climate in the church, up here the comfort, and more importantly downstairs, it's dry and clean, and other issues would arise that we won't have. So the quality of air and such in the church has improved tremendously for the heat pumps.
So it wouldn't be a good thing for us to be paying a lot more to the power person than in Hampshire.
Well, it is, it's important, my pension remains home.
I was trying to be funny.
So are there any questions on the operation and maintenance, or have we?
Any questions? Anyone would like to raise?
That is a big one this year, for sure. Yeah.
Clearly presented, I think, and helpfully so. Okay, then,
So we'll go to Schedule 11, which is our disbursements for others, and this is the other side of the flow-through accounts, Presbyterian sharing, BWS and D, like I had said in Schedule 2, I think it was, or 4. Whatever we bring in turns around and goes right back out again, so they all balance out. So that's the end of our building revenues, expenses. So, I mean, if you do go back to page 1, it's all summarized there. Cash receipts came in, disbursements went out, and our bottom line for the year was we were ahead by $8,652. So it's the first year in many years that we actually had a positive number on that line. So it's great to see. Okay?
So, if there are no questions, then let's move on to the budget for the current year, which we will. So we want to just do that.
Yep, sure, so we can go back to page 1 on schedule 1. And Noel and I looked at 2025 budget, and we did adjust some of the lines based on actuals that we felt reflected more where the church is. So in schedule 1, we made a change to the givings for our Iona use. We reduced that to 60,000. We had looked back historically, and that's where we've been sitting the last few years. So that was the only change in that section. Schedule 2, there was no changes in that schedule. Schedule 3 for other receipts, we have adjusted hall recovery because we did have the election or two, and we are also looking at partnering with an outside organization that will be renting the church on a fairly regular basis, starting at some point.
Sunday evening services with the people at our church.
Yeah, so we adjusted that up to reflect that area. Schedule 4 receipts for others. We have reduced Presbyterian sharing, and of course that is a conversation for after, but yeah, this number comes from Presbyterian, so we reduced that budget accordingly. And that was the only change in that section. Schedule 5, pastoral care. We made a slight tweak to that for pulpit supply because pulpit supply expenses have increased. So we just adjusted that slightly. Worship committee, schedule 6, that budget for 2025 stays the same. Congregational life, schedule 7, the same. We made an adjustment in Christian education, schedule 8, educational training Bible study, which is where Tamsin's weekly Bible study expenses will go in there. We made that one change. Administration, schedule 9, we adjusted some of those numbers based on the telephone company bill that comes in, and just to line that up better with our actuals. Building operation and maintenance, schedule 10, we adjusted that a little bit based on expenses as well. And what we did was we adjusted the fuel for the church down because we will be using less oil because of the heat pumps. And we increased our power bill because we will be using power for the heat pumps, and we'll also be doing air conditioning for the summertime as well. So that'll be running 12 months of the year. And what Noel and I did was what we took away from the fuel, we just moved it over into utilities now. And like Mary said, we'll know at the end of the year how that balances out for us. Hopefully we'll be ahead. So that's the change in that group. And schedule 11, again, the only change there is the Presbyterian sharing based on Presbyterian adjusting our givings budget from them. So we just changed it reflecting on the order from Presbyterian. So if you go back up to the page 1 again, in the summary on the right-hand side, you can see a little bit closer. We've got cash receipts and disbursements for 2025 budget, the very right-hand side column there. And it shows us running like a slight deficit. But then again, they're only numbers, so just guesses of what we're going to do this year. We're trying to bring it back into a little bit of a close to zero balance. So any questions on 2025 budgets, that numbers that Noel and I are kind of bringing forward? And did I cover everything I think that we discussed?
And the congregation should know that the session also look at these
Yes.
figures and approve them.
Yes. Session did have a look at them and approved them. Just wondering if there's any questions from any of those numbers that we adjusted or bringing forward.
Anything that anyone out there, go ahead.
Something I want to say, you'll see nothing there, moving over the guild. There's money sitting in that account, but the guild has chosen to paint the basement, so we're holding our money until we have the full kitchen, basement, bathrooms painted, and then our money will be released after that. So that's the project we have on, and we want to hold our money till, we don't want to run out of money with the poor guys coming to do it, and we want to have his money there, so. It'll be starting, once the group's finished in the basement, and then he can go in and do it and clean up.
Yeah, we've got a couple of projects, the lights, so we purchased the lights, so those that would be purchased earlier this year, for downstairs. Those should be done before we paint.
Yeah.
And
It's all coordinated.
during the election this week, I guess someone came to measure the countertop. I didn't know it was that big, right? But it's to replace the countertop. We're getting a quote to get it done and have to find install. And the daycare, I gotta go back to the daycare. The daycare's gonna pay for the replacement of that counter. It was damaged by them when they were here. So,
Lots of things on the roll for the budget for 2025, so.
So, we have a motion now to approve the budget. Susan? Yeah, oh, there, sorry.
Oh,
You're part of the meeting too.
Is it Martin?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the budget for 2025, please say aye. If you're opposed, please say nay. May God sustain and bless us as we seek to meet our commitments. Before you sit down, you should say a word. Thank you. Our treasurer, I need to do my research. For how many years?
7.
Yeah.
She-
Gone, but I'm not gone. You're never gone. We're always working in the background.
Thank you. So, on behalf of the congregation, a word of deep thanks. It's a lot of work, no matter how good the systems are over the years. So thank you very much.
Thank
One of my brides. My husband's never forgiven me for doing such a wonderful job. So, I said differently what you thought. Okay, good thing. Maybe this is, number 6. With respect to number 5, the session has reduced the figure that came from the Presbyterian, which is based on our figures from last year, so it doesn't come out of the sky. Sorry, we reduced the figure that came to us from the National Church, which I think is about 12,000. And that's based on the figures submitted for 2023. The Presbyterian lowered it to 8, and that's what we're accepting, correct? Are what we're proposing. Now, that's a bit of a reach for us, but we need a motion now to propose a figure that we can submit to me to send to Toronto for our national office, for our insurance accepted allocation. Are you taking it from this figure, or who is it?
I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation from Presbyterian of the $8,000 in Presbyterian share.
Seconded?
Irene, what do you have her hand?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Barry and Lena? Thank you.
Oh, she took it.
Yeah.
So it's moved and seconded, the allocation for our national church for 225 be $8,000. Okay, to vote? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any who feel opposed, please say nay. That is the goal we're going to start to reach for as we move through the year. Best we can. Now, when it comes to nominations, one of the nominations that I think the congregation should vote on directly, to show support for and approval for is our new treasurer. Perhaps somebody from the session would move the motion that the treasurer be formally.
I move that Hilda Hattie, be accepted as a treasurer.
Seconder?
That you, Bill?
Moved and seconded. Support we give our new treasurer. Any questions, any other nominations? I hope not.
Well, you accept the nomination.
All in favor of the nomination of the treasurer, please say aye. If you're opposed, nay. Carried. Congratulations on this formal approval of the session and already we can seek to support you and encourage you and assist you in whatever ways.
I will do my best.
Other nominations? Do you have others to name or
They're
decisions?
in the report, the nominating report session, the nominating report. These are in- Page 14. Not to say that nobody else
Let's put a motion and then we.
Yeah.
The report of the nominee be accepted. Let's take that as our first motion. Someone care to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. A seconder for the nominations that are at the bottom of page 14.
Jump in.
Any further nominations to what is already there? This is your chance. Every once in a while, there has been sharing it, so vote yes.
I'm sorry.
No, it's other places.
I'm working on it.
You're not alone.
Makes me up all the time. It's Presbyterians, Sharon, they need me, our Sharon, right? I got it.
Any other questions or ideas with respect to nominations of those committees? You'll see that they're listed differently this year because we made some changes.
But we're always anxious to include people who are interested in serving on any committee. So if you would like to be a participant in any committee, please let us know. And Diane, I still have you in mind.
And then the session will occur. Okay, then we have a motion before us now.
Nominations be accepted.
We've got a mover and seconder. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Carried. Now, are there any other issues or concerns? Perhaps I should begin number 7 by saying that the process involved in reaching the superior of the ministry in the Presby right now is taking a lot of time in all of the congregations that are vacant, because the Presby is doing a bit of self-study on how it is going to seek to provide leadership and support for various congregations that are without a minister, or at least without a permanent or sub-minister. The task will become more complicated in about a month when another one of our ministers is going to be submitting a retirement notice, and that will create a vacancy in other churches. So the study is ongoing, but we're working away. We're fortunate to have some of our leadership. I'm happy to continue with the work I'm trying to do. We're doing our best. It's a whole new world in all the Christian churches in the Northern Hemisphere. Many of them facing significant issues. We know that's certainly true in Canada, certainly true in Nova Scotia. Pray for all of our churches in your prayers, and the word or truth for the Presbyterian of Halifax and Lunenburg as it seeks to give leadership for the congregations that include Iona. And that's what I'm saying sounds entirely doom and gloom. On the 17th of June, we'll be adopting a motion in the Presbyterian of Halifax and Lunenburg to formally receive a new congregation. And you should ask to elect a motion. The Christian Reformed Church, called All Nations Church, at the corner, I believe, near the corner of Kennard and Roby. It's a big red brick church sitting on a corner block there. I think it's Kennard. Charles, that's right. It's near the corner of Kennard and Roby. That congregation, that's a good verb, is being evicted from its denomination, which is centered in Grand Rapids, Michigan, after a vote last summer on the same matter was keenly debated in our congregation for 45 years and came to a conclusion in 21, maybe the issue of human sexuality. So this congregation, we've been in negotiation for a while. We've gotten the word that the minister has already gone through the ropes of the Presbyterian Church in Canada. He started with us, so he will be a minister by approximately July 1st. And the Presbyterian will seek to try and work it out that the same day he's received, so is the congregation of All Nations Presbyterian Church in Canada. We've had a meet and greet with them, and they can speak for herself. I thought it was a very positive gathering, so we get to know some of their people. We have some Toronto this week, that's why I was conducting the funeral for Mr. Patterson. When I was in Toronto this week, I heard that other ministers are coming from other Christian Reformed congregations. I forget what I was going to say. Something else about somebody coming. Slip my mind, sorry. So there are others who are good news coming. So it's good news to have those who are joining with us in the Reformed family to participate in the work of our church. Pleasant to tell you, I forget what it is. Anyway, we press on, and that's what's going to happen. So by the beginning of July, certainly by the end of August, the denomination that's centered in Michigan, Oxford, churches that are not in conformity, to be gone by the 31st of August. So here's your hat, what you heard. Either stay, go along with whatever they adopted last summer, or you get out. So we're happy to welcome these folks. Very pleasant. Oh yes, I know what I heard in Toronto. That one of the people from the All Nations Church in Toronto is already being considered to be named to one of our national committees. Didn't take long, did it? Rather than hear that somebody's name. So that's a positive. Are there any other questions anybody want to raise under second? Okay. Well, perhaps further to what I was saying, with respect to the settlement of the minister, which is obviously pretty far down the road. My coach is reminding me that we're in negotiation as well with Tamsin, and to some degree, she with the United Church of Canada, which she's a member, with respect to finding a way that is suitable to all for her to complete her training in preparation for ministry. She's already been with us for a good while, but this is going to be, we hope, it's not formal yet, but think it's okay to say that we're moving toward a more formalized relationship with this in accordance with the practices and principles and functioning of the United Church of Canada. That's not complete yet. And when it is completed, and if it is completed, we'll have some responsibility, obviously responsibility for payment, which we're already doing, but also the responsibility to pick some people. The figure is determined yet, probably at least 7, I hope. People who would be a kind of, for lack of a better word, support committee from this congregation, who would give feedback and commentary and enter into dialogue on that. I have that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So, mills of God move slowly, and you've heard that expression. And they don't just move slowly in the Presbyterian Halifax and Limburg, they move slowly in other ways as well. The only place to move faster right now is in adopting some orphans called the All Nations Christian Reformed Church. The life of group is going to be wonderful. Anyway, we look forward to the completion of the negotiation of this matter with respect to taxing. So, we'll keep you posted. So that's what I can say. Any other issues? Besides that you want to go on?
In making a election report, do we need to nominate, we didn't speak about it, the same people that we're meeting next year?
Oh. Well, that's, today we either name, just a second, we need to name auditors for your committee, or we empower the session to name them. Which, that's an emotion, and where's that? Which probably safer to get
The same numbers for next year, same.
Yes. Interest would be, yeah.
I'm
Yeah, we will, I believe that it would be. Kind of committing someone without asking them officially,
Well, that's why I said.
Yeah,
we need to
Probably
the session.
into session.
That's to refer.
Yeah.
Okay,
These for
refer to
Somebody
session.
refer to
It's
session.
not on the session, make a motion that we audit next year.
Kathy Lee,
Seconder,
Christine.
these persons have moved that the session be empowered to name the, for lack of a better word, the National Church says we can use the word now audit, but the audit next year be done by 2 people named by the session. It's extremely important to make sure you have that kind of thing happen. All we have to do is, this is no reflection on our entire treasurer, but you don't want anybody to ever fall into the situation of congregation or treasurer when there's difficulty. And if you read the newspaper, you know that happens. The Catholic parish on the Eastern Shore is now grappling with money that disappeared. All in favor of the motion to the session do this, please say aye. Everybody carried. You want to make a comment?
Just in regard to formalizing that arrangement with the United Church, that should go through fairly quickly. I believe all of the balls are in place, or all of the ducks are in a row. I've just been a little bit shamefully sitting on some paperwork since Easter. I didn't, the pastors talk about the post-Easter crash, or post-Easter exhaustion, but I didn't realize exactly how hard it would hit. So I sort of have been in this limbo of, oh, Easter's over, what do I think about? So that will be done probably in the next few days, sent off, you'll have something to review, and we should, if people want to consider being on that money support team, yeah, I suppose maybe come talk to me or talk to Irene, as that should, that process should happen pretty quickly after this.
So, what I said earlier still applies. We'll keep you posted. I'm going away for 2.5 weeks tomorrow morning at 5:30. And when we get back, we'll be able to move on to some other sites. Mills of God, Grand Soul.
Oh, that's fine, okay, we've all been inducted, so it's.
Gathered from my topper that we're finished. So, someone here for the motion to adjourn, we would like to do that.
So move.
Oh, yeah.
Over here.
When somebody's
No,
not.
I am down. Eileen, we're gonna put you down, secretary, how's that?
Second that.
What's your name?
Keep your report, yeah.
As a way of adopting this motion, I would suggest that you figure these things. If you can. Terminology correct. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your participation in the life of Iona Church in the past year. Thank you for your participation so far this year. Already 4 months have gone by, I can believe. In the midst of the great 50 days of Easter, God continue to enrich our worship, and bless our lives as we move toward the 50th day, the day of Pentecost. Let us pray. You hold us, O God, in the palm of your hand. You lead us, you support us, you encourage us, and you correct us. Thank you for the love that you pour upon us. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, blessing and communion of the Holy Spirit be with you now and forever. Amen.